Yeah.
But the other thing too is,
Greetings, loves. Go ahead and click like on this video and share and subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you turn your notifications on. And welcome to Soul Search. Now, guys, the Mica Miller case. Listen, I'm gonna give it to you straight. And you know, a lot of you guys might not like what you're gonna hear, but this is just what it is. I watched Kyler, not Tyler, on Justin, what is it, Just on TikTok. And I have some problems here. Okay. Now, he just said that she is working with a PI. And yes, I follow her on Facebook and TikTok. So I knew that. She said that, right? The information that we're getting from her, it doesn't seem like it's coming from a PI or a good PI, because they haven't been thoroughly researched. Okay. Anything that is coming from this woman needs to be provided with proof. And if you don't have proof with it, then you can only assume, because there's a lot of assumptions being made here, and that's dangerous. I know that she repetitively says that she's coming with facts, and I think that's dangerous too, because what we're seeing here and hearing from her are not all facts. These are speculations. Okay. Let's listen a little bit.
if you'd like, I can put you in touch with Joe Petito, and he can tell you what he thinks about social media and solving cases, if you'd like, because they found his daughter. So why don't you just shut the fuck up? That's all I gotta say.
Okay.
Just shut the fuck up.
That was funny.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Go do something productive with your life.
Somebody
if you're
trolling
gonna come after
him.
people, at least use a profile picture so you're not acting like a little wuss. I won't say another word. I might get banned for that. But
That's funny.
anyways, okay, continue. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. So, all right, we talked about the timestamps, how the looking up at the camera was deleted. Where was I?
We were talking about the vehicles. You were thinking something about the white Honda had been following her.
Yes. So Mica says
About the picture of her looking up at the camera, I'm not sure what the significance is of that, because I'm gonna tell y'all, if her family had said that they don't think it's her, and listening to Kyler, she says, if it's not her, they did a good job. The only two issues with that picture that I'm hearing from Kyler, which she says she's talking to the family, so we can only assume that her and the family is on the same page with this, is that the tattoo doesn't appear to be there. And it's bad camera quality. I mean, she's very light and the tattoo is dark. So I don't know what's up with that. But she says that there is a second picture that does not have her wearing the necklace. And there is no proof that the necklace was either sold or pawned. I have not seen the second picture that doesn't show the necklace, so I can't get with that. But as far as the tattoo not showing, we don't see it. I would think it would show. So, but it doesn't seem like they're disputing that it is actually her. They're talking about timestamps not being there, which is kind of odd. So I guess in question is maybe when she bought it. And I know they provided a receipt, but I mean, you can do that easy. So, you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like they're disputing that that's her. So I don't even know why it would be a big deal if they removed the picture of her looking up. I don't know why they did it, but there's that.
herself in the police report that there was a white Honda following her, stalking her. And the only other thing I have to add to this is the Robeson County report said in their statement, and I quote, "The decision was based on surveillance footage, interviews, physical evidence, and the examination of the North Carolina Medical Examiner's Office. The same medical examiner that told the family they didn't do an autopsy, they didn't do a toxicology report, they didn't check for water in her lungs, and they didn't check her body for residue." So what the ever-loving hell determined that this was clear-cut, self-inflicted?
Yeah, that is crazy, guys. But this is my biggest problem, and I really want to save this for last. Without an autopsy, there's nowhere else to go here. Okay, there's nowhere else to go here, and you got to move into a civil suit on. Not just a civil suit, but have him further investigated, maybe by the FBI, with all his crimes and connections to crimes, whether it's money crimes or, making a civil suit against him for the things that he's put her through that could have helped lead her to this. That's the only options I can see here. It's no point in continuing to speculate about whether or not he caused it, because they don't have enough evidence to even run a case like that. They don't. We do have enough here to say that investigation was not even an investigation. It was just some faulty reporting on the Robeson County's behalf, and they didn't do a good job. But what are we going to do about it? No body to autopsy, no more evidence to collect, because you can't get evidence from the scene anymore. What's the ballistics of the bullet? I have heard nothing about that, and that's weird. I have not heard anyone ask about it. Have they matched the actual firearm that she purchased? Do they have that? Because if you didn't do an autopsy, did you collect one from somewhere? Because not doing an autopsy means you didn't take it out of her. So was there one around? Did it match? Nobody mentioned that. And to me, yeah, that's all on both sides. Somebody should be mentioning that, because that would be the smoking gun. And it's not being mentioned. There's too many questions that probably won't get answered. Too many. And with no body, it's not really too far you can go.
Thank you for the help. The other thing that I want to point out about this, and I've not gone down this rabbit hole, you might have, and I'm not, look, there are several offshoots to this case that we can go down. We can go down the path of JP's father. We can go down the path of Robeson County and this particular medical examiner. I am not there yet, because I think the focus still needs to be on Mica at this moment in time. Mm-hmm. Will we get there? Yes, but it's not today. That being said, though,
no, I disagree. I disagree that the focus needs to be on Mica, and this is everything that I just said. If they have other things, the crimes, the Africa, the children in Africa, the children in Pakistan, their finances, other abuses that can still be tried, what have you, any type of crimes, then that's the focus. That's the best you got. The focus can't be on Mica with no Mica. It just can't.
With this is I have had a few things sent to me.
If you're taking Lyrica,
deaths, no matter what they might really be, he rules them as suicides.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them. Like there was one I was reading about, I don't have the facts in front, but like lots of wounds, lots of blood all over the house, and it was a brachial artery. They said he says in the thing below the elbow, so I'm thinking that way, but maybe they meant here. but below the maybe they meant the side, but it says below the elbow in the report that they hit a brachial artery. And if they hit a brachial artery through the bottom below the elbow, that's a hard stab wound to do on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even here would be probably. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be that hard. But you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of reports like that.
Right.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
And I get his point. There could be something there. That's an angle that also could be, taken. I see several possible angles. And it doesn't have to be just one. But what's not available anymore is trying to make JP responsible for Mica's passing as far as literally doing it himself.
Also, let's talk about body camera footage. Why don't we have it?
Mm-hmm.
In the Alex Murdaugh case, it was released
super fast,
pretty quick, right? Why don't we have it? Where is it? What's on the body camera footage? I want to know, but we probably won't know.
No, unless it gets closed out, you can do a freedom of information request. But then I would respect. I would say that they will basically tell you that it accidentally got deleted, or there isn't any.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Okay.
Now you gotta tell us
Because
what you're
suing them for not doing a proper investigation, somehow bringing charges in that area, I'm not sure what that would look like, but I see that as a strong possibility and something that should be looked into. So that would mean they would have to give up that body cam footage. Because you're saying that you came to this conclusion, but I think it can be proven that they didn't do a proper and thorough investigation to get to that conclusion. So the body cam footage would be relevant, So I don't know. I think this is all for a lawyer or outside bureau to, be speaking on and looking into. And, seeing what they're saying about what can possibly be done here, because this was not a proper and thorough investigation on her passing.
Oh, no.
Why try to choose it?
I'm good. I got a whole thing on
Y'all, but let me just say, when I tell you that I have been watching, there's no body camera footage. It's also true, and it's somewhere floating around the internet sphere, that the medical examiner that was called in was not on the case and was not on call. So why? Why'd you do that? What reason would you have to do that?
Okay, I'm not sure why this is a question. If he's the county medical examiner and he wasn't on call, are you saying, can you be more explanatory here? Are you saying that there was another one and they called this one who wasn't on call instead? I don't think that county is big enough to have more than one. However, I believe it usually goes as they have a passing and they call them in. Right? So if he wasn't on call and they called him in, isn't that kind of normal? Like, what are we saying by saying this? I mean, I need more explanation on that.
Also, who has current possession of her black Honda Civic? Was it searched? Was anything else found in it except for what you want us to see on the picture in the front seat? Why aren't they talking about that? Where's the car? Who has the car? Did the tag number match what's on the traffic camera?
Also, I don't hear nobody saying this either, but several reports that I read, and these are just news reports I'm talking about, but they said that she was found in her car. Now, the official is that she was found in the water. Okay.
All of these things that they don't want to talk about. If she did this to herself,
I don't think you know how much fur sticks around even after.
this was not handled properly at all. And why? Is it because there's corruption in that county? Probably. That's how I feel about it.
Well, I mean, it's South. I hate to say it this way, but you've heard me talk about this. And you've heard me make this comparison.
Now I'm gonna give it that, because I've said this myself. Back around when Operation Tarnish Badge was an issue, I believe I was living there at that time. Um, it is the county known to avoid. Okay, most people, if you're not from there, you're not familiar with those parts, they know to avoid it. They especially tell women to avoid it, and mainly because who's gonna protect you? You're by yourself, so you're gonna have to defend yourself. And guys, if they're bold, or if they from there, they have family there, they know people there, familiar with the area, people know them, they don't really see a problem. I mean, it's bold territory, but if that's your area, you don't really care that much because you know how to move, where to move, and all that kind of stuff. And another reason for that has always been that if something do happen to you, the people will likely not be punished. It will likely not be a proper and thorough investigation. Okay, so that is also something that has always been said about Robeson County, Lumberton. So I give her that, and we can see plain as day that the investigation was more than horrible. So
Alec Murdaugh was South Carolina, and he was able to get away with things that he did for decades via SLED, via local PD. You're not that far in Myrtle Beach from that area.
No.
It's still, and especially even in North Carolina, even that part of North Carolina is not that far. I mean, again, people who think it's a completely different state, it's like right there. It's like how I live in Tennessee, but technically I can be in Kentucky in less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, you can get to the state park from parts of Myrtle Beach in an hour. Like it's not far at all. And it's just the pieces are starting to fall into place. They really are. And I'm scrolling through my other updates to make sure I didn't miss anything. But I think we have it all covered up until now.
She's going to get to the tattoo, guys. I know y'all are excited about that. They're going to get to the tattoo. Sorry, I tried.
That's okay. I appreciate that. I mean, at this point, most of the world is going to be misgendering me, and that's not my focus anyway. So,
well, I try to be respectful.
I appreciate that a lot. So, the tattoo. Yeah. The tattoo is not on her hand in the picture.
I don't know what he's talking about or where she's... I didn't know that there was different pronouns preferred. I didn't see that posted anywhere. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that it's being taken lightly, because I didn't know how other people was to know. So
if it is, it's really hard to be seen, but again,
it's dark ink though.
It's just like the necklace. I mean, the necklace is very clearly not there in the second photo. So that, and the fact that I saw something.
I'm literally cutting my hair, y'all, right now. I have how many years? Since 2010 been growing my locks, and they were very long, and I never thought I would, but I'm understanding why people at some point decide to cut them, even if you grow them back. And the best I can say is they was getting on my nerves.
Else in the comments that I wanted to talk about. Oh, the cremation. So I have not been able to confirm if she was actually cremated. I do not know the answer to that question yet. I am busy and looking into a lot of other things, and I did speak with the sister last night, but those are not questions I'm asking right now because that's not the focus.
I found that kind of odd. Okay, I'm not saying that that's not a genuine statement. I'm just saying I found it kind of odd because it's a big deal. Because if I think fighting for the body was more important than anything else. You can do all that investigation later, because again, you could do all that investigating and everything, but if you don't have a body to find real evidence pointing to help back up what you're speculating with other evidences and missing evidences that are so clear here, then at the end of the day, you have nothing. So I would have been stressing like, hey, we got to do what we can to stop him from having the body. It's like, wow.
But I can assume, based on,
my most important skincare ingredient right now, when
the day after they got to see her body. So I can only assume that that would mean that she was cremated, because if JP demanded a cremation consent letter or whatever it's called, then we could assume that she was. But again, I don't know the answer to that, and if I do find out the answer to that, I'll be sure to post.
I would have fought him to high heaven. You're separated. You're talking this junk about her in your sermons. So clearly it wasn't a good separation. Charges have been filed. Videos have been posted of you two being at odds. There should be no court in existence that would not, when presented with all the evidence of their issues at the time of her passing, and also the reasonable doubts here, there should have been no court not willing to turn over custody. And you're not going to make me believe that, especially when you didn't try. If the courts weren't petitioned to force him to give over her body, and the sister did, I have the records, the sister did put some court records in I did read them, I do have them, to go over to get her state, I believe. Okay, let's go to the paperwork before I continue. Okay, so this is in Horry County, and I'm only assuming it's in Horry County because he had already gotten her body sent back. This is from the sister Sierra Francis. Personally appeared before me, Sierra Francis, who's first been duly sworn. Okay, I am the petitioner in proceedings before the probate court. I am Mica's younger sister, having been raised by our parents, Michael Francis and Angelita Salas, with our siblings. We ultimately settled in Myrtle Beach with our mom and stepdad. I was aware of Mica's family dynamics and relationship with her husband. Responded John Paul and stepchildren, and she names the children. Mica and I spoke every few days, texting daily, so much as even to create playlists together. Mica would drive to visit me and my family in Gaffney, South Carolina, at least once a month. Others, including my family members of the church congregation. Mica told me that there were people following her, keeping track of her, where she went, and thought that Mr. Miller hired people to follow her. Mr. Miller later confirmed this during a sermon I watched, and we all know this. Mica confided in me that Mr. Miller was moving assets that were in his name, such as his vehicle, changing the deed to their house to the church, transferring interest in Crocodile Rocks to one of his sons. In February of 2024, Mr. Miller removed my sister's personal items from the home that they shared while she was admitted to Waccamaw Mental Health Facility, and left them at the apartment of Diana Nyosi. Who is she? My sister was not aware that her personal possessions had been removed from her residence until she was released from the hospital. Well, that's not going to be important, because if she was deemed incompetent during that time, the courts don't feel like it's important that she's made aware of whatever is being done on her behalf, unfortunately, because at that time she's admitted, so she's not even capable or responsible according to the law. Prior to her admission to Waccamaw, and if y'all don't know, Waccamaw is a whole South Carolina thing. Mica was gathering and sorting the evidence that she had, to bring to an attorney to file for divorce to support her claims against Mr. Miller. And as to his abuse character, his paramours, and his associates, he paid off for blackmail. While at the facility, these documents, emails, files, etc., were removed from her phone, personal laptop, vehicle, and purse, and they were never recovered. Damn. So that's probably why he had her committed, so he can get all the evidence she had. You know, and when you talk about what can you learn from situations, periodically post them to some kind of secret cloud or something he can't get. Safe deposit box are good options. Having them on a key file, a fob, sending it to her sister, updating periodically. These methods can become expensive, but there are also other methods too. But I would have used at least 2 or 3 different type of methods with a guy like this, with these type of resources he has, to make sure you're keeping whatever is important and making sure it's in the hands of someone who can do something with it if they need to. So, I mean, it would have been great if that was done here, but it's kind of hard to, dealing with a guy like this and he keeping track of you and all this and that. He wanted to know her every move, it seemed like. Okay, further, Mica was unable to access her iCloud account, email, Facebook profile. Mr. Miller continued using at least one of Mica's accounts, causing any recipient to believe it was Mica's communications. Wow. Mica talked about what she wanted her life to be like following her divorce from Mr. Miller, having traveled for church missions. And honestly, guys, when you think about it, a lot of people, including we see here with the sister, are talking about her and her desires for her missions. People were saying that, hold on, let me pause this because the video of the attorney for the sister has just come on and I hadn't seen that yet. People were talking about her wanting to move to Africa for a mission, and she had just posted on her Facebook, as we all can see, about that. And it was told that she had just come back from that mission, days prior to her going. She had just come back and she had just filed officially for divorce right before her demise. What I also noticed is this.
Last year, my wife, they went to Africa, had a wonderful trip, amazing trip, and she came back with the idea to start a school in Africa. And 6 weeks ago, she goes in the hospital, gets out, and just leaves, just completely leaves me, leaves everything, drains the bank account, and goes. Guess what? While you're talking bad about me out there, I'm building a school in Africa for over 100 kids to be able to be fed. I'm just doing that. I'm doing the work. Now listen, I'm hurting more than I've ever hurt, going through so much pain you can't imagine.
Shut up. Nobody cares. This is shady. It sounds to me like he definitely was addressing this to her. Okay. When he said, "Why you talking bad about me? I'm out here building a school in Africa. Why are you building a school in Africa? If y'all are separated and that's her dream, why are you now building?" Because he has the resources and she doesn't. So when people are saying that he wanted to take everything from her, it seems to me like this was the last great thing that she wanted truly for herself, what she wanted to do with her life after him. And he took that away from her by interfering and outshining her and doing, taking over. Like, why are you going to Africa and doing this? Was he talking about it before her? Why was he expressing to his congregation long before, she got involved? Did she get involved as a part of his already, in operation mission? Or was this truly something that she wanted to do? And then he decided that he will have the control of it and the construction of it so that he could always control her in it or take it away from her. And it kind of seems to me like he deboed his way in so that he could actually take it from her and say, either you do XYZ or you're not going to be able to do it or participate. I'm going to be able to stop you because I'm going to, I'm going to be there. I'm going to have my hand in it. Or he could have just said, nope, I'm not going to let you. I'm taking over. I'm going to do it. And you can go find you something else to do, but I'm not going to let you have this either. And to be honest, that could have been far too devastating for her on top of all her other devastations. You know what I'm saying? So I think that this is a possible thing that could be added to him pushing her to do something by causing such havoc in her life to where she feels like, okay, now what? Now what do I have? You took her ultimate dream from her. And I'm not saying that he didn't have more involvement, but we can't go that route anymore. That part is over. I'm going to show y'all. Wow. Okay, so y'all, I was just going through some stuff on my way to get what I wanted to read to y'all. And I'm seeing some crazy stuff, but this one here, I got to read this, child. I got to read this. All right, so blah, 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 boo, 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 gee. All right. JP, the preacher, told us to beg you to come. They really enjoy the SR group. He begged me for years to attend his church, blah, blah, blah. I didn't stay long at Solid Rock. The last service I attended was when he announced that he was having an affair with Mica. I wanted to vomit and punch him in his stupid face. I remember looking at my children and wanting to cover their ears. There was no way I was allowing my family to think that this behavior was okay. Mike and I had dinner with him after this incident to tell him how disturbed I was and that we would not be supporting him if he stayed with Micah and didn't get the help that he needed. The dinner didn't end well, but he knew where I stood and that he couldn't control my husband and I. Many people stood by him and supported their relationship at that time. Wow. He had a whole different wife, though. Wow. Okay, same time, he was telling people in his church that they couldn't live in sin or sing in a choir because they dressed a certain way. Many stories of him judging everyone at his church, but still continued his own disgusting behavior. From DMing girls I saw with my own eyes while proceeding to have a relationship with Micah. All I could say was that people would eventually learn that his behavior, and many did. Until you have experienced the wrath of JP, you can't even understand the level of chaos. Wow. Without going into details, he treated his first wife like trash for many years and his children. Oh, so much there. And I'm sure they are so upset over this. I pray for them throughout all of this, and I'm sure the nightmare that they lived has resurfaced. I can't believe somebody actually had 5 children by him. JP is guilty of many horrible things, and I so wish he could be held accountable since the beginning of this. And I have prayed that this tragedy would go viral so he could be exposed for who he really is. Because I felt deep down that he wasn't at that park with her in North Carolina. I felt like he was going to get off. Maybe she meant to say he was. I felt like he was going to get off and Micah was going to be portrayed to be the one with mental issues when JP himself is mentally ill. He truly needs help. And Reverend Randall isn't the one who should be doing it. That's a joke. And he just covers up for JP. Puke and 7. I don't know what that means. I hope his church and all his businesses crumble. I pray that the women he had affairs with, the ones he's paid off to, come forward. I pray that his church and his finances are investigated. That's what I'm talking about. I pray for Mica's family. I pray that they press him so hard and reveal everything. Warriors are standing up for Mica and her family. It's amazing to see. For legal reasons, I have to say this is all my opinion. I believe I need to add the word allegedly. Girl, good on you. I'm just saying, how do you go get a power of attorney over somebody in the middle of a divorce? That shouldn't be allowed. It should not be allowed. And it's crazy because he was able to do this, but when she finally filed for divorce, that's when she's removed from the earth. This was on 3/20/24. Y'all separated, going through a divorce. How can you sit up there and go get healthcare power of attorney? It's crazy. And this is creepy. My agent may consent to the donation of any or all of my tissues or organs for the purpose of transplantation. Grant of discretion to agent. I do not want my life to be prolonged, nor do I want life-sustaining treatment to be provided or continue if my agent believes the burdens of treatment outweigh the expectations of belief. I want my agent to consider the relief of suffering, my personal beliefs, the expense involved, and the quality as well as possible extension of my life in making decisions concerning life-sustaining treatment. I do not want my life to be prolonged by tube feeding if my agent believes the burdens of tube feeding outweigh the expected beliefs. I want my agent to consider the relief of my suffering, my personal beliefs, the expense involved, and the quality as well as the possible extension of my life. Wow. And here's the signature. All right, so she says, because I can't seem to find the interview with the family, but I'm pretty sure it'll come up. I mean, I'm in the groups following, what's her name, Kyla Natala. So she has an updated recap from May 10th. Michael body was released to JP on April 30th. JP told the family that he would not allow the family to see the body at the funeral home unless the parents first signed a certification of cremation. Child, ain't no way I would have signed it. I just, for the life of me, would never understand why they would sign that. What innocent person behaves this way? Not only was it inhumane, it was suspicious. But just like he got the health care power attorney, I mean, he got everything lined up for himself just right so that he can do what he want to do. Even down to that would have been the last thing he would have got. He would have been able to tell people over and over again, oh, she crazy. Move her stuff, take her car, take her trip to Africa, her mission in Africa, get healthcare power attorney, have her committed. He'd been able to do all that and more. But the last thing that he would not have been able to do, which was the most important thing, would have been that cremation. And it's really, I just, it's just really at this point, I'm going to be watching from the sidelines, but, JP's ex-wife has teamed up with Mica's family to bring his abuse to light. She told News Nation herself that she got out just in time. Now, we now know that the redacted name of who was stalking Mica in the court documents was in fact JP. A video was uncovered via body camera footage of when the tracker was found on Mica's car at East Coast Honda. The body camera footage was of JP harassing her at the dealership. Dang. Robeson County's investigation officer told the family themselves that her remains were not tested for water in her lungs or gunpowder residue on her body. They also did not do an autopsy or a toxicology report. Why? Well, who cares? I mean, well, no, that's not true, because, again, if you're going to go after them to hold them responsible for not doing a thorough investigation, then yeah, or a proper and thorough investigation. But if you're not going to do an autopsy, then, you know. A couple more things that have been circulating the internet that are food for thought. I mentioned a private plane a while back that is registered and to Solid Rock that JP was bragging about in a sermon. The plane has been proven to exist as of yesterday and was purchased on 4/23/24. The tail number, blah, blah, blah. It is very obvious in the photos of Mica at the pawn shop counter that her necklace is not on in one frame but is in another. We've seen the photos circulating of that, but that's not her necklace. That's another thing I came to say. That's not her necklace he's wearing. Watch this. These two necklaces are different. She has a, this is like a link chain, and a heart with a stone in it, right? And then if you look at his, it is, it looks like it's a rope maybe, but it has some kind of engravement. The only way that it's possible is if his chain is upside down. Because now that I'm looking at it again, I'm seeing that there could be some depth to this underneath. Then when you look at the shape, though, you see the heart. This is a heart. And you see the point right there. But then when you come over here, you don't see it come to a point, but it is fuzzy. Now, this could be upside down. So, again, now that I looked at it again, the jury's still out. But it doesn't look like the same chain. Okay, pawn shop. If her body wasn't, okay, we've also seen the photos. If her body wasn't released to him until April the 30th, how did he get it? Was it on her body when they found her? In her photos and videos going back quite a while, it seems like she never takes it off. I know we've seen the videos of the TikTok creator slandering Mica's name and making JP look innocent. This person is very obviously working with JP as someone close, and there's always a person like that in every mysterious death case. And the only thing I can say is that the guy is definitely not helping JP's case by hurting it instead. Don't click, don't engage, don't comment, but just let JP dig his hole even deeper. Oh, you can't tell people that. People got a right to check out both sides. That's what you should do. There are still a lot of holes in the story regarding the 911 call. Where and at what time it was placed, we're still working on laying all of that out. And I encourage you to not believe everything you hear and see on social media just because people say they saw, they heard a talk to Mica that day doesn't mean they really did. I agree with that. I know I've also become a social media presence completely unintentional, but I have only posted facts. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. She's posting speculation too. I mean, just by assuming that that's her necklace he wearing. That's when clearly, if you look at it, it doesn't look like it. The only thing I can draw from that is that it looks like it might be it upside down. It could, that's a possibility. But other than that, it doesn't look like the necklace. She says, and I doubt these other people are working with private investigators. Who's the private investigator? That's what he does. There's no reason to hide. Because he's not coming up with good. I mean, he ain't doing no different than anybody else at this point. He has improved the necklace, but you're saying it. And, you know, there's other things that aren't mentioned or talked about that should be. And I'm just hearing a lot of speculation. If anything is said to be a fact, then, you know, there needs to be proof posted with it. Other than that, it's speculation. Robeson County wants us to believe the photo editors. Okay, all right. She's talking about her being in a pawn shop. Okay, too many inconsistencies. Yeah. We all seen the cease and desist order from JP's lawyer, child, please. Ain't nobody thinking about JP. Okay. I want to remind everyone that the more people who come forward with evidence and proof, I ain't seen no cease and desist. I just heard that there was one and it don't have my name on it. And it didn't come to me. Okay. All right. You understand me? Okay. Why would a coroner who was off duty on a Saturday go to this scene? Are you ever off duty as a coroner? Aren't you supposed to be on call? Why would the same coroner be the first to give the timeline report even before the sheriff's department or the first coroner? Okay, so they had another coroner. Okay, now that makes sense. So they chose that coroner who was off duty over the coroner that could have been on duty. I mean, I want a clear statement on that. Because y'all are questioning it, but you're not saying directly. There was another coroner on duty, and yet that coroner was not called. Why were there no toxologies? Does the same coroner have a home in MB? What's MB? Myrtle Beach? Does this coroner attend South? Ooh, child, bet not. Because that would be a conflict of interest. Why would Mica drive all the way up to Robeson County? Yeah, that's what I said first. Having, you know, lived there, I just haven't lived there, haven't, you know, worked around there. Just Myrtle Beach State Park or Brook Green Gardens. Why is JP now wearing the necklace? Again, y'all, prove that that's her necklace.
You alright, man?
This fool said he thought he was going to see Jesus.
You okay? Huh?
Jesus.
You okay? What's the matter? Huh? What's the matter?
Switch my medication. Makes me go crazy.
Is somebody helping you?
Mark's coming to get me.
Oh, okay.
I thought I was going to see Jesus.
Okay. But you got Mark coming?
Somebody called him, I think.
Okay.
I feel like he intubated me.
So,
Because the ants bite me everywhere.
is your medication something they gave you?
Yes, I'm a drug.
If the ants will bite you everywhere, then get up. If you can scratch your nose, you can get up. Well, what you on? Because Mica did say in her post something about drugs. I think she said illegal drugs, too. Why would this woman sign a healthcare power of attorney while she trying to get away from him? And she know good and well he gonna do it any kind of way. I don't buy it. Why do I smell pink?
fact, we were going to try to start seeking
There it is.
a civil action attorney to consult with to see if some of the documents that we have found, or not found, but that Mica left in my care, as well as her family also had found, there seems to me that there could be a civil action, not against the police. The police, under the circumstances, responded, I think, appropriately under what was happening at the time. But there are other things that happened that are related to this church. She was employed there. There's a question about whether she was appropriately paid for her time. She was the church itself was used by John Paul. I have letters that he wrote on church stationery to her, basically disparaging her. He went after everything that meant anything to this young woman. And I want to go back to the question about what else this could have been if he didn't actually pull the trigger. This man, in my opinion, based on the documents, my conversations with Mica whenever she was alive, tell me that she was brainwashed by this man. He abused her in every possible way that there is. Financially, he abused her by taking away things, phones, access to money, took away her car, those types of things to try to gain control of her. Every time she tried to leave him, he would harass and stalk her to the point that she just felt like she had to give up and go back.
Wow.
And he abused her not only emotionally, financially, he abused her religiously in terms of her religion and her relationship with God. He demeaned her in every aspect that he could. There is a video of a sermon of him that I was just so taken aback, and my jaw hit the ground because I felt like I had come across the answer of maybe why she would have taken it this far, and that is he had her convinced that this was what she should do. In my opinion, I believe he had her convinced that it would be the only way that she could escape him to some degree. I believe that he had her convinced all the way. I believe that he used every tactic and tool that he could. The mounds of paperwork that I have.
I'm glad she's saying this because this is just being realistic. I mean, guys, if nobody's helping you, if the church supports what he preaches and what he does and always has, and when you're in a religion like this, there's no real higher power of a body of people than your church, and the pastor is considered the head. You look at the government and stuff like that, but to some degree, most people, especially women, because you know how they try to limit women, the men surrounding you are supposed to be the most powerful, so it's definitely going to be your church. And if they're supporting what he's doing, then wow, this is crazy.
Is incredible. She collected a lot of things. She kept a notebook. I have boxes of journals, which, by the way, he's made 100 phone calls looking for, as I understand. And he is constantly trying to stay in front of this, spin some story. And I think we have enough here.
With that evidence, I'm curious. I'm sorry to jump in, Regina, but Sierra, do you think you can shed some light on why your sister told the police that John Paul had been grooming her since the age of 10, but that her, her involvement with the church only began at age 14 in a youth program? Do you know what the difference is between those two claims?
If I had to assume, I would guess that she probably meant 2010, not 10. Since 2010 would be a better estimate of what she might have meant.
Yeah, I don't think that she ever said
age 14.
10 years old.
No, she's consistently said around 14, 15 years old. I've never heard her ever say 10 years old.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. Thank you to both of you. And may I just say I am so sis and her big sister, Destiny Barrientos. Thank you to both of you. And may I just say I am so sorry to be meeting you under these circumstances. And my heart goes out to your family in dealing with what you are coping with. I cannot imagine being in your shoes. Michael, if I may begin with you, you feel that the investigation has been less than complete, to say the least, on Mica's death. What do you believe happened? What is your theory of how Mica died?
My theory of how Mica died? Well, I know she was pushed to the brink. I know that There's no reason for her to be out there in that area. We've never been there. She's never been there. I mean, my theory is broad right now. There's bruises on her hand. There's injuries to her other arm, like a handprint. And these things were not documented, and they did not show up for no reason. And we were not satisfied with the answers that we were given.
This was done 9 hours ago. Again, if they didn't do it, if they let him cremate her body and so they couldn't get an autopsy, you can say it, but you have no opportunity really to do anything about it.
In the entirety, it didn't seem like enough was done, and we just want more answers. We want more checking into this.
And Destiny, the investigators still have not released Mica's personal possessions, like her cell phone in particular, which is a pretty critical piece of evidence. Tell me why it is so important for the family to get those things back.
Mica had been gathering information to help with her divorce for quite a while, previous to her commitment to the hospital that was unwilling. She had all of her stuff on her phone at that time and her laptop. When she was committed against her will, John Paul had went to the hospital to pick up her items, deleted all of her information off of those items, and held them till they were past the date that we could recover anything. So it's very vital for us to get this cell phone that she currently had, because we do believe that there could be quite a bit of evidence on there.
Michael, one of the things that I think has stuck with a lot of people is that Mica met John Paul when she was in the youth ministry in the church, when she was just 40.
I don't understand it. Why, if they already ruled it, why would they keep her phone? Are they just telling them that and they already gave it to him? Because why would they not release everything to him? He's like the custodian, so, and they don't have any reason why they wouldn't give it to him, because they said she did it to herself. So why would they still have her phone? The phone that we saw that had the time stamp of 2:40 in a freaking airplane mode.
And he was a leader in the church. That did not escape a lot of people. Ultimately, they ended up married. But is there something that you and the family know or feel or believe about Mica's claim that she was being groomed from the time she was a child?
Absolutely. Yes, her demeanor changed over time, and she became more and more compressed, less and less of herself. And as soon as they got married, her behavior went downhill fast as far as being her lively, jovial self. And she seemed to be more sad, more under control, and didn't seem to be her free self. Didn't seem to be able to accomplish things she wanted to without him causing them to end. She would do something amazing, and he would shut it down and would not repeat function. I just believe he really compressed her. I really believe that he just sucked the life right out of her and caused her to go downhill from the moment after they got married, the moment after he forced her to have a certain surgery. And she had a violent reaction from the end.
You know, and in many other situations, there could be things that I probably would be saying, like, why did you saw how you treated his first, blah, blah, blah. But I got none of that. And we know why. She was young. She was manipulated. So it's like all that stuff we would normally say, we cannot apply this to her here. Like, all this blame goes on him and his supporters, the church. I don't necessarily know if I could blame the family. It's just sad.
And he took advantage of that.
What kind of surgery are you saying he forced her to have?
I would rather not say.
Breast?
Okay, I understand. But I do want to pull on that thread a little. Do you believe that John Paul Miller had inappropriate sexual contact with Mica before she was legally allowed to be in that kind of a relationship? Do you think there could be charges in terms of the age difference between them?
Right. I'm unaware of anything that occurred when she was still a young teen, 14 or so.
It's kind of weird. That was over 20 years ago? So, yeah. How you going to do that? Secondly, you're talking about different states have different laws, and we know that our fight is not over. We have not done enough as women to push for changes. there's a lot of changes need to be made. You know, ages of consent and stuff like that, because, you know, traditionally, it has historically been very much accepted, and very common for a man to be with a young lady and who's very young, even from the age of her coming into her quote unquote womanhood, by having her cycle start and them being with her and then marrying her. And it's like, even if it's looked at a certain kind of way, it's like once they marry her, it's kind of seen as null and void any questions or concerns, because now that's his wife. So, I mean, but for her to ask that, it's like, lady, you know good and well, it's how statute of limitations alone. I mean, come on.
Bethany, do you have anything? I'm not sure.
As far as him reaching out to her and continuously texting her while she was a teen, he convinced her to get away from our family during her teens, told her that he would find different households for her to live in within the church to get her away from our family, as well as he helped her get a car and told her to find adults and tell them stories that they could trust, to get her away from our family. And that's how he initially isolated her during her teens.
Damn.
Do you think, Destiny, that he was having a sexual relationship with her when she was underage?
That I can't lay any claim to. I'm not exactly sure to the extent of their relationship at that time, other than the getting her away from the family, getting her to talk to other people, and putting her in homes of other family members. But that is when I believe that the initial grooming did start. And continuously texting her while she was a teen, he convinced her to get away from our family during her teens, told her that he would find different households for her to live in within the church to get her away from our family, as well as he helped her get a car and told her to find adults and tell them stories that they could trust, to get her away from our family. And that's how he initially isolated her during her teens.
Do you think, Destiny, that he was having a sexual relationship with her when she was underage?
That I can't lay any claim to. I'm not exactly sure to the extent of their relationship at that time, other than the getting her away from the family, getting her to talk to other people, and putting her in homes of other family members. But that is when I believe that the initial grooming did.
So other church members were housing this young lady, knowing that he was, wow. Okay.
Start.
And Destiny, just describe some of the changes that you saw in your sister after she married John Paul.
Mica was so full of life. She was funny and energetic, someone that just lit up every room that she walked into. And once they were together, especially for that first initial couple years, I mean, she just deteriorated. She was not herself. You could see that maybe she was you could see just the downfall in her personality, as far as becoming sad or trying to put on a mask to not let people in of her own private, from what I'm finding out, her own private hell.
Michael, is there a chance that you and your family will launch any kind of civil litigation against John Paul Miller, whether it's wrongful death or whether it's an encouragement for the police to launch criminal charges for anything they may discover in the evidence that we've been able to unearth, the stalking and the harassment, the physical evidence and the admissions and the emails, even to our producer, that he had done those things?
Absolutely. We're going to push for every law that can help, and push for laws that don't even exist yet. We need a lot of support. We need people that can help write new laws if necessary, and staff this situation to springboard forward and protect Mica, and also protect anybody else in the future. And we'll definitely pursue that. Wrongful, everything. He has caused terrible pain and tragedy throughout this.
Michael, what was the last conversation you had with your daughter, Mica?
It was about, it was the day before, gosh. It was basically about how things were going. I was talking with her about music, and we wanted to do some recording, and she just absolutely had no signs of anything drastic in her life that would be that bad. She did mention that she was feeling some depression, and she was didn't understand. She didn't understand why this pressure was coming back, because she was feeling better and better the longer she was away from John Paul. And I believe it's due to the stalking and the slashing her tires and causing her just pressure, because she felt like she had to look over her shoulder all the time. So she felt like she needed a weapon to protect herself. So this is not normal. This is not she was not in a situation where we would think, oh, we need to be watching her, or, I left, she was doing fine. She had a job, she was moving forward, and then suddenly, there we go.
I wish they stopped showing that picture of him and her. But old girl in the comment section said he looked like old boy from Beavis and Butthead. Which one, Beavis or Butthead? He kind of look like Beavis, don't he? But he do. But that is the main picture he used for her memorial service announcement, and it's like all those pictures had him in it. Honey, you being her husband was just a part of her life. But her life is her life. When she passed, it's about her. Not y'all marriage and... Oh, God, this dude.
Here we are.
Michael Francis and Destiny Barrientos, thank you so much for being on the program and sharing this information. And please keep us apprised of anything that happens in coming days and weeks. I really appreciate you doing this. Thank you. Thank you. Rich McHugh, who has been digging into this story for us all week long. Rich, there is this incredibly important sort of stalking report. And we were talking about it quite a bit after we discovered that Mica had taken her life. It talks about a tracker being put on her car. It talks about her tires being slashed. It talks about this device being jabbed into her tires to let the air out. It talks about a man showing up at a gas station, then following her to a car dealership, and that man's name was redacted all the way through. Last night we learned the man's name was actually John Paul Miller, the estranged husband, the man who everybody had pointed to as the cause of all of this prior to finding out it was a suicide. But now we actually have an email from him when he's admitting to some of this behavior. What have you found out?
So we've come into a lot of information that has been sent to the police, and that's the key thing here, because people are wondering, okay, so what are police to do with all of these allegations? Do they even know? And now we know that her family has forwarded all of this information to the police. One of the things that is included in these documents is an apology email from him to Mica on April 15th of this year, which is about 12 days before she died. In it, he writes, "I'm sorry for damaging your car, tires, etc. If you ever come back, I will turn in both cars and get you a nice SUV or whatever car you want. Again, my horrible flesh pattern of hurting someone when they hurt me." So there you have it. He's kind of outing himself.
And I'll give you something shiny and new if you just come back to me. Boy, if I had a dime, Rich, for every time I've seen an abusive relationship like that. So JP, actually, Mr. Miller, John Paul Miller, Pastor Miller, has been having conversations with you via, texting back and forth. And if I understand this correctly, he has also admitted directly to you that he's the person who put the tracker on the car.
That's right. That's right. So earlier this week, I believe it was Monday, I engaged with him and he started talking back with me, kind of unprovoked. And I also want to read this because this thing stood out to me when I read it at the time. I didn't really know it. He said, this is JP to me, I even hired a PI to put trackers on her car to know if she was going to a gun store because she kept trying to get a gun for the past few months. I have never once in my entire life ever hurt her in any way, ever. I was just communicating with him on text, drawing him out, and he kept texting and texting and texting.
Is it just me, y'all? But Mica, in that video, I guess people say it was when she was in Africa. When she talked about putting a pow-pow to her head and pulling it, and something happened where it didn't go through. She had one then, right?
I've officially asked him for an interview. His attorney has, of course, said no, but that's where it stands.
That's pretty glaring, admitting to that. Okay, the next thing is that he apologized for something else. And this was something we were unsure of. There were allegations that Mica had been threatened, that a topless photo of her would be posted on the internet. And now he is admitting that it was him. He was the one making those threats.
Yes, so this goes back to this apology letter that we have. It's an apology letter from him to Mica, dated April 15th. In it, he's apologizing for a series of things, and one of them is a photo that was produced on the internet. It was topless of her. We're not going to show that here, of course, but in the apology, he says, "I'm sorry for putting a picture of you on the internet. It was for less than 1 hour and immediately taken down. I was hurt that you were telling everyone horrible, intimate details of my past sin, and I just wanted to try and hurt you. Please forgive me. It was evil of me to do that."
So is that what he was talking about in that recently surfaced video where he's saying these photos are going on Facebook? And she said, "You're going to be going to jail." I was wondering when I saw that, like, why would she say he going to jail? Are they photos of that day? Like random photos? Just, what photos? It had to be these. Wow. Wow. And this is probably only a portion of what he was doing to her.
And I just wanted to try and hurt you. Please forgive me. It was evil of me to do that.
Oh, so yeah, it's only up there for an hour. Like, that doesn't have life elsewhere when people download naked photos and they live forever. And I'm sorry, but there's the but. Like, that's, again, just a classic pattern that you often see. So you have also seen text messages between John Paul Miller and Mica's family. What were in those text messages?
Some of the text messages I've seen were pictures of text chains where her family was communicating, and Mica was on there. But Mica, this was at a time where I believe she was in the hospital. And so the Mica jumps into the conversation and said something like, Happy Val.
Somebody in the comment section talking about this is really boring. Sick of, you want to be entertained? Go somewhere else. Listen, that photo crap, y'all, it's plenty of women probably been threatened before. I have. And I'm pretty sure they have done it. Like, really believing, some dudes really believe that you're going to care about what they put online. And I tell them, do what you feel, bro. It's a body. We all got one. Okay? But your pastor husband. Yo, I can't even say what I want to say about what should happen to this dude. Your pastor husband? I can't get past that.
Valentine's Day to me, and I believe her mother or a relative says, Mica, is that you? And it was quickly figured out that this was not Mica. This was JP, that he had possession of the phone, and it was his interpretation, legal interpretation, that it was marital property. And so this is just one of a number of instances. You know, he took over her Facebook page. Her brother took it back, and her sister took it back and said, hey, this account has been taken over. Do not post. There's a lot here. There's a lot here, actually.
Like, I mean, marital property, sure, but communicating as someone else is not marital property. You can't just grab a marital property telephone and then pretend to be. Like, there's a distortion if I've ever heard one. So Mica herself wrote something before she died, a document of sorts. Did you get your hands on it, and what's in it?
Yes. So this is a letter that she wrote 2 days after this apology letter, if I have this correct, and roughly 9 days before she died. It was a letter for the courts in part of her divorce court proceedings. And it's a hard thing to read. I'll just be completely honest. She lays out like the entire case of why she's leaving him and what has happened to her. I just want to read a snippet of it. I don't even know if we have it, but her opening sentence is, since the day we became husband and wife, I have been abused in every way I can think of, emotionally, sexually, spiritually, financially, and physically. He has harassed me physically and electronically with letters, phone calls, emails, texts, hacking my emails, hacking my personal Facebook and impersonating me, using my stolen phone to send texts and emails out to church members. It goes on and on and on. Installing tracking devices on my vehicle, on my godmother's vehicle. The trackers were found on March 11th, March 14th, March 24th, April 15th. All of these have been documented and reported to the police. That's the key here, actually, is that
that's
the police
what I want to
have
ask.
all this information.
The police have all this. They have the letter. They have the incidents. They have police reports. Did they do anything about it?
I've reached out to all the police agencies today. I only heard back from one of the agencies. That was the lead agency investigating her death in North Carolina. Keep in mind, she's from South Carolina. She died in North Carolina. They kind of passed the buck. They said, this is not related to her death. You need to contact the police.
This is where I'm at with this. And I've been here. But I want to say this at this point. Okay, let's say that day she did go in and purchase a weapon. And I'm inclined to believe that she did on the day that they're saying that she did, okay? And then she went to the park. I don't know why she would have went to that park. That part is just, but for whatever reason, she's there, right? Now, the guy's saying he heard some screaming. I know nobody said this, but why nobody questioned him about what type of screaming? Did you hear her say anything? Or was it like curling? Like, get him to try to describe how the screaming sounds. I mean, it's kind of mute to ask him now, because I'm pretty sure he can say anything that makes it sound like someone who's about to do something rather than, someone who's afraid. But screaming, if she done all this, call 911 calmly and everything like that, what's the screaming about? Not saying that it couldn't be something that she found necessary to get the courage to go through with it and the screaming, because gosh, man, I'm really about to do this when I could have been so much more. I could have kept living. You know, that I could get that. But my first thought was screaming because somebody about to do you, right?
Agencies in South Carolina, I haven't heard back. So it'll be interesting to see what they do respond, because from what I can tell, from what I can gather from conversations with her family, and you're about to speak to them directly, but they'd like to see some charges come from these past incidences. Like, there's questions about legally, what lines were crossed here. And it seems to me
at least that an investigation has been going on, right? With all of these reports and all of this evidence.
Right.
Rich McHugh, amazing digging on this. Just really terrific reporting. Thank you so much for this. Thank you for watching.
I hate when the cops are like this, man, because it's like, do something with them so we don't have to. Take him. Put him in jail. I don't care if it's 10 years. Please just get him away so we'll have time to, like, really get with ourselves, because why? Don't put me in that position, man. Don't do it.